Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is responding to the big news that Trump is traveling to Russia, as he would tell us. Or in reality, Trump is, I don't know why you play that, why I say Russia. Cole's like, I haven't gotten a soundbite in all day. Let me just play this one. He's actually traveling to Alaska, but he said he thought he was traveling to Russia to meet with Putin. And to supposedly strike a peace deal. Now they're starting to downplay, all right, let's not act like we're going to have a deal by the end of this. And so the worry, as I keep saying, is that Putin's using this to fake Trump into believing he should pull off of pressure because, oh, I'm really close to peace. If you'll just stop putting so much pressure, don't do an economic sanctions, don't support Ukraine a bunch. And then that will give Russia the exact assist it needs in this moment of the war. So Zelenskyy is kind of calling out Trump and saying, first of all, in preparation for this, why am I not there? We went over that already. But number two, Putin is playing you. In other words, he says that, but that's the general message.
I told President Trump and all our European allies, Putin is bluffing. He's trying to push before the Alaska meeting on all directions of our front line. Russia wants to occupy the whole of Ukraine. This is his wish. And Putin is bluffing that sanctions is nothing and they don't work. In fact, sanctions are hitting Russian war economy hard. It's true. Russia has a lot of weapons, many times over than we have. Artillery, let's say, for three times more. But they sustaining 3 times more losses. And I said about it to our European friends.
I think just from the standpoint of translators, we could have gotten a better one. Just on that front, we could have gotten a better one, and and they're going to in weapons.
President Trump, that Putin definitely does not want peace. He wants to occupy Ukraine, and we all understand that Putin cannot fool anyone. We need future and further pressure and European and American sanctions against Russia, and together, our union of partners can stop war of Putin's. We spoke about the Alaska summit. We hope that the central topic will be the ceasefire, immediate ceasefire. President Trump was mentioning it many times. He suggested...
this is all very serious. I'm only laughing at the translator. I'm sure in Ukrainian, Zelensky's nailing this, but his translator is not.
That after the Alaska meeting, we will have a contact and we'll discuss all the results, if there will be results, and we'll decide our next common steps.
Yeah. So about what you'd expect, but it's a blunt message, right? I told Trump and our European allies that Putin's bluffing. He's trying to push before the last meeting on all directions of the front. Russia wants to occupy the whole of Ukraine. This is his wish. He does not want peace. And the reason why this is, of course, MAGA is going to go, see, Zelensky's trying to warmonger. He's trying to prevent peace, but Trump just wants peace. All right, maybe that argument worked better for you. I didn't think it did, but maybe it played better when we didn't just have the 6 months that we've just had, where Putin kept doing this to Trump. Now, okay, now they're meeting in person, but we've had the same exact dance that's been done. He gets Trump to alleviate pressure on him by cosplaying like he wants peace. Sometimes he gets Trump to be really hostile to Zelenskyy, cutting off intelligence support, cutting off military aid by weaponizing Russian disinformation into making even Trump believe that Ukraine's the problem. Meanwhile, Ukraine's agreeing over and over and over to unconditional ceasefires. Putin strikes harder than ever. Putin's engaged in a military offensive. And so now he's doing an in-person meeting. This is a Hail Mary on Putin's part, because it was looking like Trump was finally getting pissed at him. The Atlantic had a piece. Vladimir Putin could be laying a trap. Donald Trump badly wants a deal to end the war in Ukraine. What is he willing to give up? And how much more violence is he willing to enable in the future with a weak deal that weakens Ukraine and strengthens Russia? Vladimir Putin has had a tough few months. His military's much feared summer offensive has made incremental gains in Ukraine, but not nearly the advances he had hoped. His economy has sputtered. Donald Trump has grown fed up with Putin's repeated defiance of his calls for a ceasefire and, for the first time, has targeted the Russian president with consistently harsh rhetoric. Last week, Trump slapped one of Russia's major trading partners, India, with sanctions. Putin needs to buy time to change the trajectory of the conflict. And that's the key sentence. This is why Zelenskyy is saying that Putin's bluffing, because at any point, how you really know that at least we should be concerned is at any point Putin could immediately show himself to be eager for peace. Even if he's trying to leverage horrendously for concessions that benefit Russia, he still could pull back on the hostilities as a sign to Trump, I'm taking this seriously, now give me a good deal. Putin needs to buy time to change the trajectory for the conflict. So the former KGB spy master has given Trump something that the U.S. president has wanted for months, a one-on-one summit to discuss the end of the conflict. Trump leaped at the chance, but as the two men prepare to meet in Alaska on Friday, foreign policy experts, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, are warning that Trump could be walking into a trap that the Russian leader is setting on American soil. So we're going to be watching, of course. And it's not that this is doomed from the beginning. It's just now we have so much. Before, we would say we already know so much about what Putin wants here, why Ukraine can never accept it. And even me, who would argue I'd encourage Ukraine to quote unquote give up major concessions if it could mean lasting peace with ironclad security guarantees. But that last few words is exactly what Putin has again and again said he would never accept. Essentially, he won't accept Ukraine being positioned to prevent further Russian aggression. I wonder why the one reason would be. And so we already had that context before Trump got into office, but now we've seen over and over with Trump specifically. So I don't really know how MAGA can argue that what we're laying out here isn't the case, but maybe a miracle gets pulled off.
Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
there will be?
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be. I don't have to say. There will be very severe consequences. Yes. Yeah, please.
And hopefully that is the case as we continue through this. Please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate this show. Now, Trump got very upset about the coverage on MSNBC of this meeting. He said, very unfair media is at work on my meeting with Putin, constantly quoting fired losers and really dumb people like John Bolton, who just said that even though the meeting is on American soil, Putin has already won. What's that all about? We are winning on everything. The fake news is working overtime. No tax on overtime. Nice. Okay, he's a funny guy. If I got Moscow and Leningrad free as part of the deal with Russia, the fake news would say that I made a bad deal. But now they've been caught. Look at all of the real news that's coming out about their corruption. They're sick and dishonest people who probably hate our country. All right, you get the point. Let's look at the segment that set him off.
So, Jonathan Lemire, as we mentioned, you've done a bunch of reporting around this summit. We did hear from the White House press secretary sort of a tempering of expectations about what may come out of this, but just the very fact that the President of the United States is granting a face-to-face meeting with President Putin on American soil at that base in Alaska, by definition, it's not a low-stakes, low-key meeting as the White House is now trying to pitch it.
No, and I spoke to one of Trump's former national security advisors, John Bolton, who says Putin's already won. Just getting this meeting at all is such a victory for Putin to be readmitted into the sort of international community, that he's getting a one-on-one summit with the President of the United States. You know, he had one with President Biden back in Geneva in 2021, and then, of course, infamously with Trump back in Helsinki 3 years prior to that. I think some Europeans are heartened that the White House is trying to take the temperature down a little bit on this meeting, that there won't be necessarily a deal struck there in Alaska about Ukraine. The Europeans and Zelenskyy himself.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to get a sense. It feels like, if I had to guess, we're going to see the same thing that we've seen on the phone calls. They'll proclaim it to be a ton of progress. Putin will leave and do some record-breaking attack, and then things will fall apart again. Now, that's not what I'm hoping for. Sometimes MAGA will go, why are you rooting against? It's that sometimes Trump comes off really naive all the time, or ideologically aligned with Putin too much, such that we have no trust. So if something great came of it, it's just we know already too well, and a face-to-face meeting is not going to change that, what Putin's demands are. But if he adjusted on them and there was some great thing, I promise I would credit Trump. I just did the Azerbaijan-Armenia credit. You remember? I gave one credit in 10 weeks. You got to keep that in mind, okay? No, I've given others. I love that the Trump administration was so transparent about his health after his ankles exploded. I'm so happy they were so forthcoming about his health after he had 2 elephant legs. I'm glad. I gave him credit, did I? Probably not. Whoops. But I would. If something came of this, the concern is we have seen. Or that Trump tries to strong-arm Ukraine into a quote-unquote peace deal that only facilitates further aggression and further bloodshed, because we all want to stop the killing. Some of us really care about stopping it in a lasting fashion.